I never thought I'd be sharing something like this, but here I am. Let me introduce myself quickly. I'm Sam, 33, married to Rachel, 31. We've been together for 10 years and married for 7. Life was pretty normal until last week. We live in a small, quiet town where everyone knows everyone. No drama, no chaos, just routine. Or so I thought. Rachel has always had this quirky obsession. Collecting rare stamps. It's something she picked up from her grandfather, who left her his collection when he passed. Over the years, it became her passion. I joke about it sometimes, calling it a lifetime of paper rectangles. But seeing her light up when she got a new piece, I never minded. Last week, Rachel told me she was expecting an important delivery. Something about a rare, one-of-a-kind stamp she'd been chasing for years. The crown jewel, she called it. She said the postman would deliver it personally. His name was Adam. A guy I'd seen around but never really talked to. Friendly enough, I guess. So Friday afternoon I get home early. The house is quiet, and Rachel isn't in her usual spot on the couch. I hear muffled voices coming from the backyard. As I approach, I hear Rachel laughing. Like that carefree, flirty laugh I hadn't heard in years. My stomach tightens, but I tell myself not to overthink it. I step outside and freeze. There's Rachel, standing way too close to Adam, the postman. She's holding an envelope, tears in her eyes, and thanking him over and over. He looks smug, like he just handed her a winning lottery ticket. Hey, I call out. Rachel jumps back like she's been electrocuted. Adam barely reacts, just nods and hands me a polite, "Good afternoon," before heading off. Rachel stumbles over her words, saying something about the stamp and how it's all for the collection. But something felt off. That night, I couldn't shake the image of Rachel and Adam in the backyard. Her flustered reaction, the way she clutched that envelope like it was her lifeline. It all felt wrong. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe I was just overthinking it. But then Rachel started acting different. She seemed jittery, avoiding eye contact, and her phone never left her side. A habit she never had before. Whenever I brought up the stamp or the postman, she'd brush it off like it wasn't a big deal. Just a rare find, she'd say, but her voice always seemed too high-pitched, too forced. By Sunday, my gut was screaming at me. Something was definitely going on, and I had to know what. Monday morning, I decided to work from home. Rachel had already left for her part-time job, and I found myself staring out the window, waiting for Adam's mail truck. When it finally pulled up, I stepped outside casually, pretending to water the lawn. Adam waved, and I waved back, my heart pounding. "Hey, Adam," I called out. "Got a minute?" "Sure," he said, walking over with that same smug grin. "What's up?" "I just wanted to thank you for helping Rachel with that stamp last week. She was really excited about it." He chuckled. "Oh yeah, that was a special one. Not every day you see something like that." "What's the story behind it?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. "Well," he said, leaning on the mailbox like he owned the place. "It's from a very limited collection. She was pretty determined to get it. Kept asking me if I could pull some strings." "Strings?" I echoed, my stomach twisting.
Adam simirket.
Let's just say, she made it worth my while. For a moment I couldn't speak. The blood roared in my ears as I struggled to process his words. "What do you mean by that?" "Oh, come on, man," he said, his voice dropping into something almost conspiratorial. "You know what I mean. Let's just say Rachel's persuasive. She really wanted that stamp." He gave me a wink, tipped his cap, and walked back to his truck, leaving me rooted to the spot, fists clenched and mind racing. I stood there, replaying Adam's words over and over in my head. Persuasive? What the hell did that mean? Every rational part of me wanted to believe he was just being a cocky jerk, exaggerating something innocent to mess with me. But the way he said it, the smirk, the wink, it didn't sit right. When Rachel got home that evening, I decided to confront her. I didn't want to go in guns blazing, but I couldn't ignore it anymore. "Hey!" I started casually as we sat down for dinner. Adam stopped by today. Her fork froze halfway to her mouth. Oh? What for? Just making his rounds. We talked about the stamp you got last week. He said it was from a pretty rare collection. Rachel's eyes darted away. Yeah, it's really special. I've been after it for a long time. And he mentioned you had to be persuasive to get it. Her face flushed, and she dropped her fork onto the plate with a loud clatter. What's that supposed to mean? That's what I'd like to know, Rachel. My voice was calm, but my chest felt like it was going to explode. He made it sound like you went out of your way to get that stamp. Like, really out of your way. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. He's lying, she said finally, her voice trembling. Adam's just trying to cause trouble. You know how some people are.
Doi.
I asked, leaning back in my chair. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like there's something you're not telling me. I swear, Sam, it's not what you think. She stood up, her hands shaking. I just offered to pay a little extra for it. Okay? That's all. He probably thought he could twist it into something else to mess with you. I stared at her, trying to read her face, but there was something in her eyes, something she wasn't saying. So if I were to ask him to clarify, he'd say the same thing? That it was just about money? Yes, she snapped, but her voice cracked halfway through the word. I mean, go ahead. Call him. Ask him whatever you want. The defensiveness, the trembling. It didn't add up. I decided to play it cool. All right, I said, standing up and grabbing my keys. I'll go talk to him. Rachel's face drained of color. Wait, what? Now? Yeah, now. I figure it's better to clear this up sooner rather than later. I turned to walk toward the door, and that's when she broke. Okay, stop, she cried, tears spilling down her cheeks. I'll tell you the truth. I froze, slowly turning back to face her.
I'm listening.
She collapsed onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. It wasn't about the stamp. Not entirely. What does that mean, Rachel? My voice was ice. Did something happen between you two? Her sobs grew louder, and then she said the words that made my blood run cold. It was for art, not love. For art, not love. I stared at her, completely dumbfounded. What the hell does that even mean, Rachel? My voice was rising now, my patience hanging by a thread. She looked up at me, her face streaked with tears, clutching her hands together like she was trying to hold herself together. It's not what you think, she stammered. Adam has this connection to a collector who owns stamps that I could only dream of. He wouldn't give me access unless you what? I snapped, stepping closer, my fists clenched at my sides. Spit it out. She sobbed harder, her words barely intelligible. He said he'd only help me if I went along with a photo session he wanted. A photo session? My jaw dropped. Rachel, are you hearing yourself right now? What kind of session? Her cheeks turned crimson as she whispered, a boudoir shoot. For his personal collection. I froze, feeling like the air had been sucked out of the room. You let our postman, take those kinds of photos of you? It wasn't like that, she yelled suddenly, her voice desperate. It was artistic. He promised they wouldn't go anywhere, and I thought it would be worth it to get the stamp. It's part of the history I've been trying to collect. It's my passion, Sam. Her words hit me like a freight train. Your passion? You're telling me you humiliated yourself. No, humiliated us. For a stupid stamp. Rachel flinched as if I'd slapped her. It's not stupid to me. You've never understood how much this means. And you've never understood what this marriage means. I roared. How am I supposed to believe nothing else happened? That it was just pictures? What else did you give him, Rachel? Her face twisted in agony, and she screamed, Nothing! I swear it was just that. I'd never cheat on you, Sam. I didn't know what else to do. I stormed away, my mind spinning. Her tears, her pleas. They were all background noise. The woman I thought I knew, The woman I trusted with everything had traded her dignity and ours for a piece of paper. The next day, I couldn't focus on anything. I sat in the car outside Adam's house, watching his front door like a predator circling prey. I wasn't sure what I planned to do when I saw him, but my boiling rage needed an outlet. Eventually, the door swung open, and there he was, smug as ever, a cigarette dangling from his lips. I got out of the car and marched up his driveway.
Hey, Adam.
I barked. He turned, his face lighting up with that infuriating smirk.
Sam.
What brings you here? You know damn well why I'm here, I growled. What the hell did you do with my wife? He didn't flinch, just leaned casually against the doorframe.
Relax, man.
It was nothing serious. She's the one who came to me, desperate for that stamp. I just gave her an opportunity. My fist connected with his face before I even realized I'd swung. He stumbled back, clutching his jaw. What the hell, dude? You think this is a joke? I shouted, looming over him. You think you can just mess with my wife, my family, and get away with it? He glared at me. You're overreacting. Nothing happened that she didn't agree to. Before I could throw another punch, a voice rang out. Sam! Stop! I turned to see Rachel standing there, holding the stamp. Her hands were trembling as she cried, Please, just stop. What are you doing here? I demanded, my anger spilling onto her now. I came to end this, she sobbed. To return this stupid stamp. None of this is worth losing you, Sam. Adam laughed bitterly, wiping his bloody lip. Figures. All this drama, and now you don't even want it. Shut up. Rachel snapped at him, her voice shaking. You've ruined enough. She turned to me, holding out the stamp like it was some kind of peace offering. Please, Sam, let's just go home. I stared at her, at the tears streaming down her face, and the absurdity of the situation hit me like a slap. This woman, my wife, was standing here crying over a stamp. A goddamn stamp. That night, as Rachel stood in front of the camera in our living room, holding the stamp with tears in her eyes, I hit record. Say it, I told her coldly. It was for art, not love, she choked out, the words hanging in the air like a confession. I stopped the recording and set the camera down. I don't know if I can forgive this, Rachel, I said, my voice hollow. But I'm sure as hell not forgetting. The video still sits on my phone. I haven't decided what to do with it or with us. Reddit, is it possible to forgive betrayal for the sake of collecting? Or is this the kind of stamp that seals the end?